Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our town hall, our weekly town hall here with the Nevada Republican Caucus. I am Michelle Mortensen, the communications director, and I am so glad to have you here with us today. We have two amazing special guests with us this evening. We have the wonderful Minority Leader Gregory Hapin and Assemblyman Bert Gurr with us this evening to talk about all things NV Ledge, including two bills that are being heard right now. Right now, there are hearings going on with a death with dignity bill, and there is a hearing going on with the governor's bill, his housing bill. So we have a lot to talk about tonight. Death with dignity is always an interesting one. I don't know who wants to go first on this one, but this is coming back from last session, I believe. In fact, part of me thinks this is something that's come up numerous sessions. Is that correct?
Yeah, Michelle. I think every session I've been here, they've had this, and one of my biggest concerns that I tried to get an answer on the record last session, but was refused an answer is some of the studies the NIH has done when it comes to states like Oregon that have implemented assisted suicide, and that's the increase in regular suicide. It dramatically increases. I don't have the stats right here in front of me, but that's always been one of my concerns. And when I brought it up, they told me it was nonsense. And I kind of just half chuckled and I go, if you want to argue about the federal government not telling the truth, we can have that conversation. But these are the stats that we're getting from the NIH. And so, of course, then they decided not to answer my question, but oh well.
Yeah, this is a controversial issue for sure because even just I know the caucus as a whole, individual members have a variety of opinions on this one. So, what do you think is going to happen at the end of the day with this particular bill? Do you care to speculate? Do you think it will pass again and be vetoed? Do you think it's not going to go anywhere? What's the word on the street?
Well, Bert, I don't know what you're hearing on it, but I know there are some people that have some concerns, and we're trying to come up with some amendments to see if there was some sort of compromise. Last I heard, none of the amendments were being accepted. The Democrats just basically said it's my way or the highway. Um, if some of that changes, that might change some members' opinion of it, but kind of frustrating that. People aren't willing to put some certain safeguards that a couple of members were really, really passionate about having in there, so that if it did become law, there would be some safeguards in there. And so, as of right now, I don't know that it's going to get much traction, but we will see, and maybe there will be some amendments that put in some safeguards to satisfy some people's concerns. I don't know that there could be enough safeguards to satisfy my concerns, but that's just my personal belief.
Bert, do you have any thoughts on this one?
Not many, but Greg's right. It's all over the place. There's a lot of people in favor. There's a lot of people who are questioning it, and there's a lot of people opposed to it. I happen to be in the question side of it, trying to figure out what they're really going to do and how they're going to provide safeguards. I don't want unassisted suicides to go up in our state. We have enough as it is. But I also understand somebody looking at it from the end of life kind of thing, where I'm getting to be at 77 years old. You kind of look at it going, wow, do we bankrupt a family to keep them alive for a long time, or do we let them go out with dignity? And that's the issue that's being kicked around right now. Nobody can make up their mind 100%. I can make my mind up 100%, but I want to do it based on fact and not on emotion.
Yeah, I would say this is probably one of the most controversial, and it doesn't really matter if you're on the right, the left, or the middle. Opinions vary on this one a great deal, and it's a difficult topic for sure. A little less difficult, but also carrying some controversy. The governor's housing bill. This is, I think, first and foremost, we should say this: the governor's housing bill, so unique. We have not seen a governor take on the issue of attainable housing. I've been in this state since 2011. I don't have any recollection of Sandoval or Sisolak ever taking an initiative here to deal with the housing issue. I'd say the biggest victory so far from what Governor Lombardo has been doing is getting the federal government to say, give Nevada back some of its land. I mean, from that standpoint alone, I think this is immensely monumental.
Yeah, and if I could, Bert, I was in the hearing until I came here, so I got to hear a little bit about it. And Governor actually went on the record saying that he's expecting to have an MOU with the BLM by May 1st, which at the speed of government, especially the federal government, is huge. It just goes to show you how well the governor is working with the Trump administration to really get things done for the state of Nevada and getting more federal land back into the states. I mean, personally, I'd love to get it all back, put it all back in our control, let us dictate what our future is going to be, and not have to be at the will of the federal government. But we'll still work on that a little bit. And then there's some things in the bill that I really like. One of the things that I was able to listen in on was they're proposing that all of the local municipalities in utilities, including the private regulated utilities like the one I operate, have to implement expedited review process to get these homes up, built, and running. So I looked that over as a regulated utility. I was like, yeah, that's good. I could do that. Happy to do my part. Look forward to the counties and the cities and everybody else also stepping up to the plate. I think there was a county commissioner that was actually testifying right as I walked out, and so there's some good things in there. Haven't been through it all, so I can't speak on everything. I did walk out to be here with you guys tonight. But I do plan on going back and finish watching it here shortly. So if we cut out a little earlier tonight, apologize in advance. But a lot going on between the assisted suicide and the governor getting a hearing, which I know a lot of you have been asking. When is the governor going to get a hearing on his bills? Well, his first one's getting a hearing right now, which was pretty quick because it barely just got out of drafting and has a hearing. So
Absolutely.
some good
Now,
news.
Bert, I'm curious as well. There's such a difference of opinion often in northern Nevada and southern Nevada. It's almost like the state is sometimes two different worlds. Have you already heard anything from your constituency? Is there a lot of interest in what the governor's doing with this housing bill? I mean, maybe you haven't heard anything at all, but what's your take?
You're right. I've heard very little about it, but I know that everybody in Elko and White Pine and Lincoln County and the northern part of Nye and Eureka would love to see the government get rid of some of this land, the federal government, get it into the hands of those of us who live here, who work here, and get it into production somehow. If it's for housing, it's for housing. And on top of that, with the governor trying to deregulate some of this stuff or get rid of some of the get rid of some of the onerous regulations that come into play. It's a really forward move to speed up the time you can go from, let's see, that's a piece of land I want to build houses on, to building a house. And plus he's got $250 million in the bill, as I recall. I was watching it on the TV behind me before we got on. And I think it's a good move. I think it's a great move. And the further we can get away from the feds out here, the better off we like it, especially in northeastern Nevada.
Yeah, to me, it's kind of ridiculous that the feds own more than 80% of our state, and I can promise you this: they don't own more than 80% of Texas. They don't own more than 80% of California, New York, Alaska. I can't really comment on, but they don't own every other state. So I really am excited about what the governor is potentially doing there. Now, I don't know if you have the answer to this question, so I'm just going to ask it, and if you don't, just let everyone at home know that I'm asking it blind. The governor's other bills, I believe there's 4 additional bills. Do we have any information yet on whether those are getting hearings anytime soon?
So I got a little bit of information on that. They're still in drafting. They were granted an exemption for the deadline that came out. Oh, help me, Bert. Was it last week or the week before? Sorry, everything's starting to blur.
The deadline into
and,
having them out to committees or out to be introduced.
to be introduced, yeah.
Yeah, that was the 11th. Or no,
Yeah.
that was shit. I forgot.
Yeah. Well, clearly,
that happened.
we're all working on what's our next deadline, which our next deadline is April 11th. And on April 11th, that's when all the bills have to come out of committee and be sent to the floor. And that's what Bert was referring to. We don't remember the last deadline date because we're moving on to the next one. We're already ahead, working very, very diligently. I think Bert's had 2 bill hearings already this week, and he's got a third one tomorrow or the next day. I know Bert's really putting in the work. I have a bill hearing tomorrow, and we're just go 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 every day. We're working long hours here at 7 in the morning, leave 7 8 o'clock at night, and really really working to get things done. Yeah, Ron, you're right. Good job, Bert. That's why we love Bert. You know, he's honest. He says
Best
what he
moment we've
thinks.
ever had.
And,
All right, Bert, I
so,
do want to talk about your bill, specifically women's
wait,
in sports. Oh, go
so
ahead.
yeah, so just wanted to make sure everybody knew the answer to the question is the governor was granted exemptions to get his bills introduced later. So they're still at drafting. They should be coming soon, but they are exempt, so we can hear them later in session, and they don't. They're not dead, so they're still moving.
Absolutely. And we do want to talk about Bert's bills in a moment, but Anne has been waiting patiently for us to answer her question. So I want to bring that up. She asks, what's the feeling in the legislature on AJR 14? And I apologize. I do not know what AJR 14 is off the top of my head.
Oh, I do.
Okay.
Happy to jump in on that. And the AJR 14, for those that don't know, is the speaker's bill. It'll be heard tomorrow, I believe. And it is condemning President Trump for pardoning all of the January 6th individuals, not condemning former President Biden for pardoning all of the members that were on the January 6th committee, Anthony Fauci, his own kids, and there's still question on whether or not he actually used his own pen or an auto pen. So that's not up for condemning, but we're going to condemn the pardon that President Trump gave, which every president has a right to do, including Joe Biden, pardoning the January 6th committee. And so now we're going to go and reopen it, rehash all this, and propose a resolution in the state of Nevada to condemn that. Kind of think we have better things to do in this building right now than to rehash something from, 4.5 years ago. But here we are.
Yeah, there I can't even believe. I remember when I heard that one was coming up. I just don't always remember the number. This one seems kind of ridiculous, and hopefully everyone agrees with you. I want to let people know one thing. Frank Volts emailed me to the email account just a minute ago and says he can't ask questions in StreamYard right now. I know Anne was able to, but if you're watching right now in StreamYard and you want to ask a question and it's just not working, let me advise that you can go on Assemblyman Hafan's Instagram page, his Facebook page, his YouTube page, my Facebook page, Bert's Facebook page, and you can ask your questions there. Or you can honestly reply to the email that told you about this town hall, and I will ask your question that way. So just wanted to let you know about that. All right, while we're waiting for that, let's ask Bert about women in sports because since you were on last time, there's been a lot going on with your women's in sports bill, AB 240. Hasn't gotten a hearing, but two things that you did do is you had a bunch of the young ladies out there kind of forcing a hearing. And there was a big decision made yesterday that really helps your bill, is a great addendum to your bill. So give us an update on what's going on.
Well, you're exactly right. We're not getting a hearing on the bill, and the girls that were in the building last week were really, really great. They were received well by 98% of the legislators in the building, and they were just wonderful in here. But still not going to get a hearing, I don't think. We're up to a week away, and I don't think we're going to get it heard. Carrie Buck's bill, Senator Buck's bill over on the other side, she advocated and sent all her support over to our bill. And still, it's not going to help a lot. But the more we work on it, the better it is. And then with what the NIAA did yesterday, what a great thing. I mean, they have banned boys and female sport and women's sports. But we still need to do more, and we still need to get this bill heard If we don't get it heard this time, we have to have it heard next time. We just keep working on it and keep going. But there's been a ton of support. I can't believe that, the Democrat caucus is made up mostly of women now. I can't believe that none of them will stand up and support this thing. I mean, come on.
I mean, it's shocking to me as well, and that kind of leads me to the next question that I have for you about this, because I was chatting with some of the folks from American Prosperity and the Libra Initiative yesterday, who came up to the legislature today. I know you had a chance to see some of them, and their big question to me was, "I am so confused. If the majority of the country wants to talk about this, why are the Democrats refusing to give it a hearing?" And I'm not sure you have an answer to that question, but I get that question a lot. Have they given you any indication, Bert, as to why they refuse?
They don't talk about it. They won't talk about it. I think it's just the national agenda that they're pushing down on these folks here and saying, we don't want to discuss this. We don't need to. I think, but no discussion. Not one Democrat has talked to me about the bill. Not one.
So no one has shown any interest whatsoever about even having a conversation about it.
No, not one.
Okay. Okay.
And if I even look like I'm going to bring it up, they turn around and walk away.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, that's very, very decisive. Now, did the decision that came down yesterday from the Nevada, the NIAA, I can't remember what the acronym means. I'm so sorry. Did that negate your bill? Does it mean we don't need your bill, or do we still need it because your bill is the only thing that would codify it as law?
Exactly right. We still need the bill. We need to codify it in law, and the NIAA can make and break their decisions just like any other commission can. You change commissioners, you change attitudes, and you change the flow of the country. They seem to go with that. So it's great for high school sports right now that they did that, because that's what they regulate, or that's what they're supposed to be part of. But it doesn't do anything for the future, and it doesn't do anything for colleges and advanced learning folks in this state. We need to codify it into law at some point.
Okay. And then if this does not get a hearing, I know nothing is ever dead in the legislature. There's always ways to bring it back. But if it doesn't happen in the 2025 session, do you believe it will come back again in 2027?
I absolutely hope so. I mean, depending on who's here in 2027, it will come back.
All right, very good. All right, we do have a question now. This is a long one. It's going to fill up the screen. So let me change. Oh, that's going to cover Greg's face completely. Here. All right. It's covering everyone's face anyway. What is the possibility of getting the year moved to smog a classic car? I have a 57-year-old car, and I have a classic plates, classics insurance, and mileage statement just to register the car. I would like the cut to be 79 instead of 67. Hot August nights cutoff is 79. My car is a 68 GTO. Greg, I'm assuming you might know about this. Do ya? Because you're our car guy. If you don't know.
You've stumped me. I thought that we had the provision in there where if it was either 20 or 25 years old, it qualified as classic, but maybe that was just a conversation that I was having with one of the chairs. I'm going to have to get back to you to try to figure out exactly what that timeline is, and if it is a thing, because I agree. I mean, you can look at the late 70s, early 80s as classic cars. I mean, for me, a 1994 Chevy pickup truck, that qualifies as classic for me, because that's what, a lot of my friends were driving in high school. So,
Are you trying to say that we're of the classic age? Shame.
I'm just saying that it should be a time frame, right? If the vehicle's 30 years old, does that qualify as a classic car? I mean, I think that in the antiques world, if it's 50 years old, it becomes an antique, right? Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's, but and then 100 is vintage, or maybe I have them backwards. But that might be a better route. But I'll have to get back to you on the vintage car or the classic car stuff. And
So would that have to be,
my
would
brother's
that,
listening. He's probably kicking me.
probably. It's taking the smog regs off, right?
Yeah.
Is that what the question was?
Yes.
Wow, I wouldn't have any clue how that works, but couldn't they do it by regulation through DMV, or do we have to codify that too? I would think Greg would know.
And I commend you for stumping everyone in the panel this week. Well done. Well done. We will look into it though. And the next time we have a town hall, we will address that issue. We are not having one next week, doing just some scheduling conflicts. So it'll be 2 weeks from today, but we will try to get you an answer to. Oh, I'm getting the hand.
Classic vehicle license plate means that they have to be 25 years. So I think that qualifies for the smog also, but
Anne says if you don't send the documents, you have to smog the car. Now that sounds like government right there. You know,
and shoot me an email with the details, and I will I'll get with the DMV and see if we can get you straightened out so you don't have to continue to do that.
yeah, and I'm typing in your email. At least I think it's your email from scratch. I might have screwed it up. I did screw it up. Oh my God. Gregory.Hafen.
Does that work?
Oh, that's it. Gregory.Hafen at asm.state. That's what I forgot. .state. .nv.us. It's a complicated one, y'all.
That's why I had to hold it up, because I don't.
Yeah, it's a complicated one. All right. We had a comment from, comments just went away. We had a comment from, it's for Bert, and so I want to get to it if I can find it. Well, it's from Nicole Edmonds saying, thanks, Bert, for all the hard work you are doing for the state of Nevada. Bert, we did send out an email today to your constituents about a bill that you worked on in 2023 that's getting a hearing tomorrow. That is your airport bill. This is, we often talk about the Elko Airport because that's one that would be addressed. But of course, this is for all rural air support in the state. When I found out that you have to drive as a resident of Elko, that you have to drive to Salt Lake City or Las Vegas to get a flight, I was floored. That just does not seem, or I guess Reno is an option too, but you have to go pretty far in order to get to the airport, which is just uncalled for. So, why was this bill so important to you, and how would it affect all rural airports?
Well, let me back up a little bit. We don't have to drive to Salt Lake. There is one flight a day that goes east to Salt Lake, so you can fly that way, and one flight that comes back at night from Salt Lake. So you don't have to drive, but at $230 or $70 round trip, it's a lot easier to drive to Salt Lake and get on a plane.
Yeah.
But with my bill in particular, it was AB 100. We have rolled it a little bit. One of our colleagues introduced a bill to make the Office of Aerospace inside NDOT, Nevada Department of Transportation. And as I went through the bill, it does most of what I want to do. And it's a good bill. So we rolled my bill into his bill. My bill has a hearing tomorrow. His bill was not going to be heard. So it'll be a little different than the original one. My main parts of my bill where we're trying to ask for $10 million appropriation to help air service is still there. $2 million in the biennium to support little airports is still there, plus everything else that's rolling in. And the reason we're rolling it into NDOT is they have a budget that they can do a lot of the work on these smaller rural airports. They have people in there. We don't have to gear up again. So it's going to be fun to see how it goes tomorrow. It really is.
Yeah. And this, by rolling it into NDOT, that's one of the ways to, if I remember correctly, to kind of the state budget that, of course, we only have, forgive me if I'm a little off here, but it's about $6 billion for each year of the 2 years that you budget out for. It doesn't have to come from any of that pool of money to do this, correct?
Right. It's not going to, my part of the bill has it's not got a fiscal note on it because it's appropriation. That probably isn't going to get done listening to how the budget's in trouble right now, but it'll still get out there. We'll push it. But the other part of it is you go into aerospace, the Office of Aerospace. It's kind of weird to me to say that, but I think putting it in NDOT right now has control of the operation of the airports in some manner, and this just goes in there. The building was trying to get this stuff all over to GoAhead, and GoAhead doesn't have any money. They don't have any staff,
Got
and
it.
so we're working to find a path forward with the thing.
Okay,
And I think we're going to get there.
Morgan has a question for you as well. Morgan and Ashley are asking, are you enjoying any pecan bill, Bert?
That's my son and daughter-in-law, by the way.
There you go. Okay.
and not right at the moment, but hey, the pecan bill. You want me to tell you about the pecan bill?
Yes, absolutely. Fill us in on that one.
All right, that was a one-sentence bill that I put in to make it the state drink, the official state drink, and over the first couple of weeks, it was a big joke, and everybody was having a good time. But it really became a Basque Heritage cultural thing. And the Speaker of the House, the good Democrat, Mr. Yeager, emailed me on a Wednesday night, I guess about 2 weeks ago now, and said, I'd really like to put your bill in my bill. And his bill I'd looked at, and in consultation with our leader and listening to people, it's a good bill. You can get you can call in like during COVID and get dinner, and you can order a glass of wine or a drink to go, and they can deliver it to your house under Steve's bill, Mr. Yeager's bill. So we rolled it into that one. We have had a great time. It's looking good. We've had a hearing on it. And it is the Speaker of the House's bill. So I think we'll get out of this House with it. How far we go past that is still optional, but I'm really positive about the way it's going. And for those of you who missed the after party after the signing or the hearing in the House, you missed a good time.
Yeah, we're going to have another one though, aren't we?
In my office, but yeah.
We're going to have another party though outside in the courtyard in a couple weeks.
Right after the Senate hearing, and then we'll have a really good one after the governor signs the bill.
Yeah. When I first moved to Louisiana, that was my first TV job. They have a thing called daiquiri shacks there. So you can literally drive through and get a variety of alcoholic beverages, and they just put, tape on it, and that made it legal in the state of Louisiana. One of the things I really appreciate about this bill is it would take people off the road. So if you're like, you know what, I'd really love Don Juan's tonight, and you want a burrito, you want tacos, but you also want a margarita, rather than driving and having those drinks, you have it delivered to your house. This really could stop a lot of DUI incidents in this state, which would be phenomenal as well.
It really could, and that's part of the bill too. Is there's a fee to have that drink delivered to your house that's going to go into DUI prevention, DUI studies. Excuse me. Sorry.
So Bert, I got some news on that. A little bit before this call, I was talking and I was notified that it looks like that fee is going to come off of the bill. So it can be a clean bill, and there shouldn't be a fee associated with it. So I haven't had a chance to tell you that, but that was something that I had been working on to try to eliminate the fees to go with this, because it's a really good bill, right? With something that we really should have been doing before, and now we're doing some things, and no need to tack on another fee.
No.
And so there's a little bit of good news for you, Bert, that you weren't aware of, but moving things forward and getting things done. Obviously haven't seen anything official yet, so that could still change, but the last conversation I had, it'd probably been about an hour ago, looks like that one's going to come off.
So that takes the 2/3 off of it, and the bill's clean.
Yeah,
yep.
That's the best news I've heard. That's amazing. That's amazing. All right, we got a question from John. It's about voter ID. John asks, voter ID made it through last election. My understanding is that it has to pass twice to amend the Constitution. Will it be on the ballot next election cycle?
Absolutely. It is on the ballot next cycle. Make sure to get out to vote for it. Tell your neighbors. Get every single person you know, as long as they're a citizen and living, to vote for it. We don't want to encourage anyone to commit voter fraud. That does happen. We know it happens. The Attorney General has prosecuted a few individuals, not many, But so do get out, make sure you vote 2026 because it will be on the ballot, and help us get that across the finish line.
What about your bill, though, Greg? Because I believe you brought your bill back to also codify this in law, which would even make the ballot initiative not necessary. Is that getting a hearing? Because, it had such support. 75% of Nevadans voted for it. So
73, Michelle. Don't oversell it, okay? I know you're a good salesperson there, but don't oversell it. There's only 73% of Nevadans that want it. The other 27 must have just not answered it. It's not dead yet, Michelle. I had a conversation with the speaker earlier this week about it. It's not dead. Um, it's kind of on life support as of right now, but we're still having conversations. And he was not as opposed to it as I thought. And for those that don't know, the speaker and I co-sponsored an election bill to clean up when the sample ballots come out versus when your mail ballot comes out, and actually put some restrictions on the mail ballots, which I was surprised when the speaker reached out and wanted to co-sponsor and amend it a little bit to tighten up some of the dates and timelines. Pleasantly surprised, obviously. And so there is some hope that we can try to get some things accomplished. And just so you guys know, I still want you to vote for it, to put it into the Constitution. All I want to do with my bill is to put it in statute now so we can work on the regulations, get them ready, because it will pass in 2026, and I want to be prepared for it.
100%, 100%. All right. We have a question from Diane, and it quite honestly is my favorite question. She wants to know about one of Senator Titus's bills, and gosh darn it, I do too. Are we going to be able to continue on daylight savings time? What's going on with Senator Titus's bill? Anything?
I don't think it's getting a hearing.
Ah, that's the worst news I've heard. So there's really not an appetite for it, is there? And that's all. That's just going to get a head shake. Okay.
It's I think I've expressed this to some of you before. I would personally prefer to stay on daylight savings time. I mean,
Yeah,
which one? No,
you want daylight savings.
I want to stay on daylight savings time, which is why we all supported the resolution urging Congress to do something about it, because under federal law, the state of Nevada could go to standard time, which is what Arizona's done, but we're not allowed to go on to daylight savings time, which is kind of silly because then we'd be on the same time zone as Arizona. But neither here nor there. We're only allowed to stay on standard time. Obviously, we're all split on should we be standard, should we be daylight savings. I supported the daylight savings. Dr. Titus's, I believe, was to go to stay on standard. And so I just don't think there was a consensus on which one we want to stay on. We all agree that we want to stay on one time zone. I think the resolution urged Congress to take action on daylight savings time was unanimous in both houses. I don't think a soul voted against it. But when it comes to staying on standard time, we are kind of split. So that's where it's at. I haven't heard it's getting a hearing. I don't know that it will. We are running up against the deadline next week on the 11th. So short amount of time, and I just don't think it's going to happen.
Might not hear Titus's, but LaRue Hatches passed out of committee last week.
That's just going to ask that if LaRue Hatches had a chance. So if it's passed
it's out of committee.
It's out of committee, which means it's going to go to the floor for a vote sometime in the next
between now and the 11th. Yeah.
The 11th. So it has to be voted on by the 11th. Everybody's bills have to be voted on by the 11th. Okay. So
by the 22nd. I'm sorry. By the 22nd.
Okay. I was about to say, I can't believe we're having this town hall.
Out of committee by the 11th. Yeah. Out of committee by the 11th.
Because the 11th is Friday.
Yes.
And I was like, wow, you guys have a lot of work to do. All right.
But the state is really split. Now, if you want to do a split, cut it north-south. Because the northern part of the state, it's an economic disaster to have it dark at 8:15 on the longest day of the year and light at 3:30 in the morning. It makes no sense. But people living in Vegas don't have that same issue.
Yeah.
Well, and there we go. Almost lost my camera. So interesting fact, when I was digging into this, part of the state is on daylight savings time. Bert, you can probably correct me if I'm wrong here, but I believe West Windover is on Mountain Time and not on Pacific Time. And so part of the state of Nevada, we are split already. And I'm like, I even asked the question, I go, can we just all go to Mountain Time and then we stay on Standard Time and then we all win? Because I get my daylight savings, you get your standard, we're all there. I was told, no, we can't do that. That takes an act of Congress
Oh,
or an act of God, one or the other.
Probably both. But yeah, Wendover stays on Utah time all the time because most of their, I mean, it's mostly in Utah. Jackpot runs on Idaho time, which is Utah time. Some of the valleys with the ranches in northeastern Nevada run on cattle time. They don't care what time it is on the clock. The cattle get fed when they're hungry, and that's it. The sun comes up, it goes down. Their time in Ruby Valley, in particular, they run on Utah time, but they don't live by Utah time. They have it out at the places. That's how they look. They don't care if it gets light at 3:30 in the morning. But golf courses, outdoor restaurants, outdoor recreation, baseball teams cost them more money to have lights on to play. I mean, there's a lot of economic problem with staying on standard time during the summer. So I don't want to switch the clocks either, but let's lock it into daylight when we get the chance.
yes. All right. We have a question from Diane, and Diane may have asked this question on the Nevada Assembly Republican Caucus page as well. We've honestly gotten a lot of questions about it on social media. And the question is pot considered a DUI? And I think what she's meaning here is if you have pot in your system, would that be considered driving under the influence? I believe it is.
Yeah, if you are under the influence of marijuana, it is still considered a DUI. They did change the under the influence statutes, I think last session or the session before, and so I'm not quite sure how all that works. I would have to go back and look to see how they changed it. But yes, if you are under the influence of marijuana or any drug, it is considered a DUI.
Okay, very good. We now have a question from our friends at the CCRP. They are joining us on Instagram, which is a great way to join us as well. She wants to know, are there any crunch time bills that we need to be alerted about? So is there anything coming through here now that, House passage is in the 22nd? So you've got, maybe if I do my math correctly, 20 days to get everything heard. Is there something that's coming in that we need to know about that's sliding under the radar, or is a bad bill that's getting a hearing and moving on? What's the word with that?
So the answer is yes, of course. There are moving pieces all over the place. Bert, you're on government affairs. You have 12 work sessions tomorrow morning, I noticed. I didn't look at each and every single one of them. I just know I'm presenting a bill. It was supposed to be before, but then I was told, no, it'll be after we do the work session. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to go to my morning committee and I'll come back and I'll do my bill presentation. But but one of the things that happened that I noticed this afternoon was some of the work session agendas for tomorrow got updated. And so I don't know how everybody feels about the film tax credits. It's 100 and something million a year over 15 years. I frankly don't know where the money's going to come from. The Democrats, pointed out that there was a budget deficit at the beginning of the session, and there was all this money that we needed to account for. And we all worked very, very late hours in the very first few weeks of session to get all that fixed. And so to now have something like that, to me, I'm just like, you guys got to show me the money. Like we went through these hearings, like I don't know where they are. I literally sat through a 4-hour, 171 page PowerPoint presentation talking about all of the cuts during the Great Recession, all of the cuts that were done during the pandemic, and all of the various tax increases that we could potentially increase. And so, which then brings me to AJR1, which I'm assuming is going to get out of committee. It will be party line. The proposal for that is that it would reset the depreciation on your house or your business at the time of sale, and the projections were 13.3 billion with a B dollar property tax increase. So be aware. I don't know that that's up for work session yet, but again, it might have been updated on the agenda, and we may be having a work session on it tomorrow night. So check the agendas frequently, um, and help spread the word that those things are coming out. I don't think that there's a single individual in my caucus that supports it, because it is a mess. I will say it got amended, and so it's slightly less bad, but it's still not great. And so we got our eyes watching that to see when that comes up. But again, agendas are changing, every day, every other hour, it seems like right now, just because we are getting so close to the deadline. I know Bert and I were working on an amendment on one of his bills late in the evening last night. I think I was sending emails at about 9 o'clock last night, and again at about 4:30 this morning. Sorry, Bert. I hope your phone doesn't ding every time you get an email from me. But trying to get the amendments fixed and addressed, addressing all the different concerns from everybody to get things to a work session so they can get to floor, and then we can try to move some of these good bills like Bert's bills. Um, maybe we don't get the amendment to some of the bad bills and they don't get heard, but we'll work on that. And but it is a moving target and a lot to come. So
Yeah, in government affairs tomorrow, we have 13 bills that we're gonna work session.
it's
Wow.
13 now. See, it
Yeah.
already moved.
It changed, and we've gone through them as the five assembly Republican people on the committee have gone through. We reviewed them all today. The majority of them are no votes. There are some. See, you can look online and see them. I'm not going to bring them up now, but you'll see why the Republicans are voting no out of committee. There's one or two that some of us are going to vote yes to get it out of committee so that it can go to the floor and we can vote no there. And that's more of a strategic reason than anything else. I mean, we're still against the bill, but we need to get them out of committee so that they're going to get out. The Democrats have control. These bad bills are going to sail through if we don't get a bunch of people calling in and raising hell with all these folks. So, and it's coming fast, kids. It really is. This is a lot faster than the first session I did here.
Diane's asking a question about the tax credit bill too, and I wanted to ask this question because I know we've had a lot of discussions about this, and there's a big belief that it's not going to bring in the money that the lobbyists and those who are big proponents of this bill are saying. Here's my question. Y'all know I watch TikTok. I happened to see a TikTok the other day with Rob Lowe, but listen, it's valid. I'm getting there. Okay. So Rob Lowe evidently hosts a game show, which I did not realize. And said game show is filmed in Eastern Europe because he said filming in California is so expensive that now it's easier to be filming in Romania and taking all of the American contestants, and I guess there's like 50 contestants on a show, flying them all to Romania, film in Romania, and have it air here. So that begged my question. Is there a situation that California has taxed the industry so much that there is a desire to have another state and there actually could be a financial benefit? Or is it all smoke and mirrors? Because I didn't realize American game shows were being filmed overseas. I knew some were, but I didn't know to that extent.
So I can say that it's not just the taxes in California, right? California has what, 11% sales tax. I mean, income tax, and they're now talking about raising their sales tax. But they also have these, labor agreements that add additional burdens onto the production, additional costs onto the production. And so a lot of them would like to come and move to another state like Nevada that has easier rules and regulations and laws when it comes to some of that stuff. And so, to me, I don't think that they need the incentive to come to Nevada by us giving them $100 million a year. I think they want to come to Nevada anyways, even without us incentivizing them with the money, because we are a very business friendly state. And so to me, I would rather see Nevada reduce the burden of entry for businesses to come here. And if that entices them to come do their films here and create jobs here, that's awesome. I think that's great. I'm full disclosure, not a big fan of tax credits, period, whether it's the film industry or elsewhere. I just kind of don't like them. I don't like how they operate for the most part. There have been a couple that I'm like, it's not as bad as some of the others, but to me, it is, what is our return on our investment? If we're going to invest $100 million, how much money are we going to get back? The latest proposal that I heard is if we give them $100 million, we're only going to get 50 million back. And so we're actually losing $50 million. And the lobbyists obviously are like, well, you'll gain it back with the county taxes. And so, the overall picture is a net positive for the state. And so that's where it gets a little complicated is, yeah, the state's losing 50 cents on the dollar, but the counties are making up more of that. And you have to be able to weave all that together and see exactly how it works out. And so um, I've told them, and I'll tell you all, I just don't think the bill's there yet. I think it needs a lot more work. We'll see where it goes. And it is up for work session tomorrow, but I am a big guy big return on investment. I'm a businessman. I like to see a positive return, not a negative return. Most people don't like to get a negative return on their investment, but we will see where the amendments come and how that bill moves. Right now, I'm a no vote coming out of committee tomorrow. I've told all my members that. I've let the governor know that. And if the chair's watching tonight, Chair Backus, I'm a no tomorrow. If you didn't already know, but I've already told her.
Is there a reason in particular that you'd like to expand on as to why you are generally against tax credits?
Yeah, we're picking winners and losers, right? So you're taking the taxpayer dollars from the mining industry, the casino industry, your property taxes. We're talking about raising property taxes by $13.3 billion, right? And then we're going to give it to one other industry, the film industry. And so, um, is that fair? Is that fair to the businesses that came here um, and built their facilities without those tax credits? Is it fair to the homeowners to increase their property taxes to then give a tax break and a tax credit to a new industry coming in here? Uh, to me, it just the benefits don't outweigh the cost. Especially on the current proposal here.
Got it. All right. This is probably going to be our last question, unless we get a bunch of them in on the comments here in a second. And this is from Frank. He emailed it to us. What has happened to the initial public comment period in legislative hearings? There is now only one at the end of the meeting after agenda items have been discussed. Anybody?
Well, from where I sit, the last session, it was that way. There was never any pre-hearing public comment. I know in a lot of agencies, a lot of commissions, they have pre and then post. But I didn't hear that last session. Greg's been here longer than I have, so he can answer that better. But
was there public comment at first when the committees first started, Greg?
I'm trying to rack my brain to think, and I apologize. I know at like the Nye County level, they do public comment at the beginning and the end. Now we do up here do public comment on each and every uh, bill. Right, yeah, bill.
Yeah.
Sorry, because some of the budgets we don't do that. It's only at the end. But we're not voting on those, and those are just like we'll come back and we'll have those conversations later. But if it is a bill, we do public comment on each bill, and then at the end for anything that's not on the agenda, or you could talk about stuff on the agenda if you like. But normally, if you got a comment, get it in on the bill itself. Which just got an update. They are on the suicide bill. They're in opposition testimony. So if you want to call in, you can go ahead and jump on the website real quick and call in opposition. They're still doing Q&A on the housing bill. So I did want to provide you guys the updates. For those of you that are watching us tonight and not one of those other bills, if you're watching one of those other bills and you're watching us later in the evening tonight, thank you for tuning in, and thank you all for being here tonight.
Yeah, and just speaking of public comment, when we kind of forced the Democrats' hands 2 weeks ago, I guess, to hear the AB 240, that was all done in public comment, correct? Because the girls,
Yes.
they went to the education committee. I believe it was education committee, and at public comment, they went and just one by one, they gave their testimonies, and we have all that testimony on our YouTube page, by the way. If you do want to go listen to it, we shared it in one of Bert's emails as well.
Yeah, thanks for bringing that up. That they were very effective in there. I think I wasn't in the committee, but yeah, they kind of railroaded the thing. They got testimony on 240 by just showing up in public comment,
Yeah.
and
So
that was an amazing strategy, I thought.
So public comment is a great thing to utilize, and we've got committee hearings until I guess the 22nd for people to make public comment if they so desire. If you do subscribe to Bert's emails, we actually gave you step-by-step instructions how to do public comment for his airport bill. And I know last week we instructed everybody how to give public comment on the gun bills and to testify. So if you ever do have any questions about that, absolutely just let us know on social media or otherwise, and we will help you through that process. But this has been a great town hall. I think we've covered a lot of interesting things that we've not covered in previous town halls. So that's always exciting. We want them to be different. Remember, we will not be having one next week, which is the 9th, I believe, but we will be back the 16th. I can do math, I think. And I'm probably wrong. It's not the 16th, but we will be back in 2 weeks with another town hall. But gentlemen, I thank you so much for joining us here today.
Thank you.
I'll give each of you a quick last word. Bert, I'll start with you if you want to say anything to the
I just want to say thanks for all of you who watched and sent in comments, especially my son and daughter-in-law, and appreciate you listening and appreciate the comments. Any questions? My phone is always on. Sometimes I've got to turn the sound off, like right now, but I'm willing to talk to anybody that wants to come in and talk about what we're doing here. Thank
Yes,
you.
and we're so fortunate Natural Resources was canceled today so that you could be with us, because I know you're always there. And Cynthia just chimed in. She said, this is her first time listening. Really enjoyed it. Thanks so much. We'll be attending more regularly, and we love to hear that. All right, Greg, I'll give you last word now.
Yeah, no, just bottom of my heart, thank you guys for all that you guys do out there. We really appreciate it. The kind words tonight were very much appreciated. It's been a long day. The day's not over. And normally I'd thank my policy team, but I know that they're busy watching the two other bill hearings that are going on and not listening to us. But I know Tracy's listening. Thank you, Tracy. Could not do this without Tracy, Michelle, all of our wonderful staff, and all of you back home. Please keep up the good work. Call in, testify, send emails, do everything that you can to promote good bills like Bert's and oppose some of the bad bills like you guys did earlier this week and last week. Very, very appreciative of it. Thank you, guys.
Yes, absolutely. And thanks as well to everyone who joined us on Instagram. I always have to keep track of that on another screen, but Suzanne, Katie, Jack, John, Crystal, quite a few people joined us today. I'm not able to scroll up and get everybody's name, but very much appreciate everyone joining us there. And we will be excited to see you guys in 2 weeks. So we hope that you have a wonderful rest of your evening. And we always appreciate you joining us. Share this one if you're watching on social media. Share it with your friends. Share it with your followers. We want more people to know what we're doing and bringing transparency to the Nevada legislative session. So until next time, have a wonderful evening, everyone. Bye-bye.